Hello, and welcome to OLA 2020. Thank you so much for joining us in this session on FOLIO's author visit and awards. Today's program is sponsored by Friends of Libraries in Oklahoma, known as FOLIO, a nonprofit 501c3 organization made up of friends, advocates, librarians, library staff, libraries, and friends groups. Our purpose is to strengthen libraries in Oklahoma through Friends of Libraries. We support Friends through many activities, with ambassadors to answer questions, automation through our Facebook page, website, newsletter, and networking, programs for local Friends groups to sponsor, current advocacy needs to support libraries both statewide and nationally, and more activities such as seed grants to help new Friends groups get started, scholarships, Oklahoma literary landmarks, and more. You will find a program for this Author Awards program on the OLA website. Today, we want to begin with honoring our scholarship and award winners for 2020. FOLIO gave 4 $600 scholarships this year for library support staff. The Lillian Norberg and Mary Lou Atkinson scholarships are offered for full or part-time employees of a public, academic, or special library in Oklahoma in the process of furthering their education. Applications will be available in January on FOLIO's website at okfriends.net for next year. And past President Sharon Solomon is here to share our winners with you.
Thank you, Wayne. Our scholarship committee has worked hard this year to really select 4 great scholarship winners. The scholarship committee was led by Lori Sundberg, with Janine Spencer and Carla Garrison as members. Our first scholarship winner is Ashley Kyle. She's the programs director and literacy coordinator at the Donald W. Reynolds Library and Community Center in Durant. As a public school teacher in a low-income area, Ashley saw firsthand how difficult circumstances affected children and their education outcomes. Now working in literacy, she sees the outcomes of dropping out and the need to learn to read and get a high school diploma later in life. Ashley says, libraries have been much more than just a place for books and knowledge. Libraries are now more about serving the community than anything. And my goal now is to continue to provide and expand upon programs that will help the community. And in doing so, bring people into libraries where they can connect them to information. I want to give both youth and adult access to literacy and learning that works for them. Ashley currently manages the literacy tutoring and provides library programming for the community, especially the health literacy grants. She's also received grants to establish a code club and a baby lab class. Congratulations, Ashley. Shauna Deeds is the Library Associate Adult Programmer at the Mabel C. Fry Public Library in Yukon. Shauna always wanted to be a librarian, serving as a summer volunteer when she was a teen, part-time circulation clerk, and full-time for 5 years now. She wears many hats, including webmaster, and uses her public relations background in writing the library newsletter and press releases. As part of the Leaders of Tomorrow Leadership Council in her undergraduate work, that had a servant leadership curriculum that really instilled in her great values that she has applied to her service philosophy in the library. She continually is learning and has completed her public library certification through the Department of Libraries, as well as Level 1 Consumer Health Certification through the Medical Library Association. Being active in the Oklahoma Library Association, she's attended conferences and workshops, and Shauna is serving on the Communications Committee of the Oklahoma Library Association. Shauna states, the scholarship will help me achieve my goal of obtaining my master's degree in 5 years, part-time. As we all know, that's a hard road to go, but she's in there for it. And it's given her a financial boost. Scholarships such as this one are a blessing to students in master's programs. This scholarship will help greatly in reaching my goals. Congratulations, Shauna. Jason Little is the Circulation Department Supervisor at the Martin Regional Library in the Tulsa City County Library System. He began with the library system 11 years ago and is beginning his graduate program this fall to be open for more opportunities. Little has a degree in business administration and a graduate certificate in human resources management. He loves working at the library. He says it's rare to have a job that you look forward to going to each day and truly makes you feel like you're making a difference in the lives of people in our community. He enjoys being a supervisor and training and developing staff to help them reach their potential. Jason relates, you never know what you're going to encounter or what type of question you're going to be asked by a customer. Some questions are easy while others are very challenging, but one thing remains the same, and that is I will always learn something. He also tries to stay up to date with, I got ahead of myself here, with technology and has assisted customers. He says, I find it very rewarding to assist them. They're challenged to be able to feel comfortable in a world that is increasingly more and more technologically driven. So congratulations, Jason. Janika Bachman is our last scholarship winner. She has worked at the University of Oklahoma in cataloging and acquisitions for 6 years, which inspired her to become a librarian. She said that being able to find that obscure book and acquire it for the patron. I also enjoyed analyzing collections and helping our selection librarians choose the best format for the right price that will also suit the collection and the needs of our patrons. Janique has volunteered to teach library literacy classes as a small segment of a freshman course on navigating the campus. She also volunteered to assist a librarian with reference consultations for the high school seniors to help them search for information for their presentations and papers. Bachman wants to work in collection development and have the opportunity to study users so that academic libraries can maximize the usefulness of the collections. She said, librarianship is important to me because I want to be able to help people. Students are our future, and I want to be able to give them the resources they need to become successful and maybe someday to change the world we live. So congratulations, Janika.
Our next award is the Best Friends Awards. FOLIO gives 2 $500 awards recognizing outstanding work of active friends groups. The Oklahoma Best Friends Award is given to friends groups with a community of more than 10,000 people, and the John Harkey Best Friends Award is given to a friends group for a community of less than 10,000 population.
That's right, Wayne. Our Best Friends Award Committee was led this year by Janine Spencer, with Sharon and John Dowdett and Diane Pennington as members. Now, we had no applicants for the Oklahoma Best Friends Awards, so we have 2 recipients for the John Harkey Best Friends Awards. These winners were so exciting. They sent in scrapbooks that were over 60 pages long, each of all the activities that they'd done this year. Very energetic, lots of fun to read through and see. Our first winners are the Stillwell Public Library Friends. Their mission is to maintain association of people for library support, faster, closer relations with community and the library, enhance the library's function, resources, and services, and encourage gifts and fundraising and bequests. So during 2019 and the first part of 2020, they volunteered approximately 1,265 hours to fundraise in 2 book sales and 3 garage sales that they held. A couple of years ago, they actually raised enough money to complete the children's wing of the library. And then this last year, they had enough money to complete a book room that had been a dream of theirs so that they could always have a room available for their book sale. And so this is a photo of the grand opening of the book room and some volunteers that were there. They also sent out letters to the teachers in the community and asked them to bring their classes, and each child was to bring a quarter if they had one to buy a book, and if they didn't have one, they got a book anyway. So their book sale was very successful, and each child then got a book that was able to come. They've written grants for projects and worked with many local organizations and businesses. The fire department came and helped with the book sale. The Ozark Electric gave them a check for a project, and they worked closely on several different projects with the Cherokee Nation. This also has a picture of the volunteers trying to put together the Stillwell sign back together. I guess had some damage, so they were working on it. They funded the summer reading programs. They did library advertising, and they did some building upkeep, including flooring, shelving, and acoustical panels. They also helped purchase a digital sign to promote events and programs of the library. They went on to distribute books and magazines to local hospitals, women's shelters, community centers, senior housing, and English as second language classes. They sponsored library programs such as organ donation, the city code enforcer, a doctor spoke about diseases. They had discussions about active shooters with the Cherokee marshals. The police chief discussed theft and fraud. They had programs on food handling, CPR. They had a workshop on planning, executive planning for nonprofits. And then they had a meet and greet for the mayoral candidates. You can see they were at the farmers market. They have lots of youth volunteers at the yard sale and are just a very active group. So congratulations to the Stillwell Public Library for that award. They deserved it. The second award went to the Meeker Friends of the Library. They've had a busy year. In fact, their scrapbook had something for every month except July, I think. But that was summer reading program was going on then too. So, but as far as other programs or fundraisers that they did. So they had a busy year. They participated in May in the citywide garage sale with donated items like books, their cookbooks, and the raffled quilt. In December, they held an annual book sale with baked items, books, and their cookbooks, which I'll tell you more about. They raised $900 with that. And they participated in May. Guys, I already said that. So they had a bean supper with the Masons, and the Masons matched what they raised. So here's the Masons giving them a check for $4,788. They had Big Bunko, a get-together that had donated door prizes and raffle items that they earned $1,450 in. And then they had a float at the Christmas parade for the community, and they gave away children's books there. So one of their big projects was having a cookbook, and they put it together, and by December they had covered their costs and were making a profit. So they were very pleased with themselves. They'd, of course, they have more to sell and more profits to make. In September, they had a tasting party of items that were in the cookbook, so people could come and taste what was there and then buy the cookbook too. They had lots of fun with that. They participated in the city's Pumpkin Festival, and 2 members of the Friends were recognized by the community, by the Chamber of Commerce, for their outstanding contributions to the community, including the Friends of the Library. They sponsored summer reading programs on every Wednesday, and then they had a nutrition workshop for the community. So these Friends of Libraries really did so much to support their library. Congratulations to both of them.
Indeed, congratulations to the Friends of both the Stillwell and Meeker libraries. FOLIO also has 2 $200 Friends of the Library Week awards. And that recognizes outstanding Friends activities during Friends of the Library Week, which is held in October. The awards are given to Friends groups with communities less than 10,000 and more than 10,000. Applications for this year's awards will be on FOLIO's website. And again, the week this year will be in October 18th to 24th.
Yes, and the committee had outstanding submissions for the Friends of Library Week last year. Our committee was led by Lynn Renane with Dr. Karen Neurohr, Judy Hott, and Michelle Ramsdale as members. Our first winner is the Tulsa City County Libraries, Friends of the Tulsa City County Libraries. They had two major events. This is only the third time that they'd actually done a Friends of the Library Week push. And so they were wanting to emphasize their mission to serve, educate, and advocate for the library. So they hosted two events, and they saw at least 120 people at each event. The first major event was a book review of the nonfiction book Bad Blood by John Carreyrou, about a business launch that goes very badly. They held it at Marshall's Brewery near downtown Tulsa. And this event was designed to help attract newer members and featured a reviewer who helps guide local businesses and helps them network. The board hired a food truck and paid for advertising and supported the evening with their presence and enthusiasm. The second event was a noontime book review held in the library featuring the library book by Susan Orlean. The reviewer was Chief Executive Officer of the library system, Kimberly Johnson. And after the review, then she answered questions about the library and discussed the future plans of the library. The event included cookies, coffee, balloon bouquets, brochures, newsletters, a membership table, and of course the board members mingled with the new people to answer questions. The board president and the treasurer spoke about the financial support that all members provide to help the library in several ways. And the Friends presented a $3,000 check to fund the local authors mini conference and to support Take Your Child to the Library Day. So congratulations to the Tulsa City County Libraries Friends. The Friends of the Elgin Community Library had a busy week. The Elgin Mayor, Larry Tama, signed a proclamation designating Library Week that week. And in addition, the Elgin Friends learned that they had been awarded a health literacy grant from the Department of Libraries, and we're very excited then that they're going to be able to offer health-related programs at the library. During the week, they installed and revealed a new unique mosaic in the library that's available there. And they had a number of groups they distributed library fact sheets to, including school staff members, teen patrons, senior citizens, and city council members. They did additional publicity, including buttons, bookmarks, local radio interview, and publicity in the Elgin and Lawton newspapers. And the Elgin newspaper donated space to recognize the businesses that had supported the Friends this year. They also had a Halloween party during the week, and you can see the Friends were not just having fun, they were cleaning. One of them was cleaning the library and one's out cleaning up the landscaping. So they were busy all the way around that week. The board held a reception for the Friends to recognize their contribution, and there were door prizes there. They collected books from the Elgin, Fletcher, and Sterling schools whose students held book drives to benefit the Friends. And then they had a local restaurant, Trivett's Family Restaurant, which donated 10% of the proceeds on a given night to support the Friends of the Library. So they had a very busy week and a well-deserved award for Friends of the Library Week activities. Congratulations.
Friends of the Library Week is a great time to encourage Friends membership and to sponsor library activities. Whenever it's warranted, FOLIO gives Hall of Fame awards to recognize outstanding and dedicated service to FOLIO. Nominations are made by the board, and the names of winners are inscribed on a plaque at the Oklahoma Department of Libraries in Oklahoma City. Last year, FOLIO created the FOLIO Hall of Fame Laurel Wreath Award in recognition and appreciation of exceptional and continuing leadership and service to FOLIO for people who have already been recognized as Hall of Fame Award winners. This year's winners of the Hall of Fame Laurel Wreath Award are John and Sharon Douthit from Claremore. They are ambassadors deluxe to Friends groups in Northeast Oklahoma, and their dedicated service on FOLIO board committees is outstanding. Congratulations, John and Sharon. We love you.
We do indeed. Sharon was such a great president and always shows such a great ambassador too, because she's always so calm and reassuring that you can do the job. And then John just goes everywhere and visits people and connects with friends. So they're both great. Congratulations. FOLIO offers seed grants for up to $425 each to help with the formation, reorganizing, or revitalizing of a friends group. So grants can help in such things as legal expenses to incorporate or promotion of the library. So in the 2019 fiscal year, we gave 2 seed grants. One was to the Friends of the Piedmont Library to market their group and increase their membership. And the other is to the Latimer County Public Library in Wilburton to form a Friends group. So we look forward to hearing great reports for them. And if you're interested in finding out more about seed grants, there is a place on our website at okfriends.net for information.
FOLIO works with local communities and United for Libraries to sponsor literary landmarks around the state. We currently have 13 landmarks.
That's right. And tomorrow, actually, August the 1st, another literary landmark will be dedicated to honor children's author Bill Wallace. Everyone is welcome to attend in Centennial Park at Chickasha at 10 a.m. I don't know if you've read any of Bill's books, but they're delightful and kids love them. They love them. 2 additional literary landmarks are planned soon, one for Bill Conley in Cushing and the other for Mel Tolson in Langston. So watch our Facebook page, our web page, and newsletter for times and dates of those upcoming literary landmarks.
And another wonderful FOLIO service is our ambassadors program. We have ambassadors in each quadrant of the state. They are great listeners and will help generate ideas and provide information you may need for your friends group. Find the contact information in the FOLIO newsletter or on the website.
FOLIO's endowment fund assists with our ongoing scholarships, awards, and programs. Our funds are held at the Oklahoma City Community Foundation, where you can find detailed financial information about FOLIO, our board, and our programs, and that's at occf.org. You may also give to us online there, and our endowment will also be doing a fall mailing this year, so you can watch for that. And you may not know about programs that we've had in the recent past. We had co-sponsored the Reading Roundup author tours that went around to public libraries for several years. And when the Let's Talk About It Oklahoma was developed, we gave money to help have books available for those discussion groups. We also had a 3-year grant on financial literacy with financial fitness at your library that were in public libraries around the state. In the North Central area, we had a poetry contest for high schools for several years. So watch for more programs, and I hope you can see our early childhood literacy program this conference and and you'll hear about a new idea that we have.
And now I'm delighted to introduce our guest author today. Faith Phillips is the author of fiction and nonfiction books, rock and roll reviews, and a variety of print and online essays. She self-published her first work of fiction at the age of 8. More than 30 years later, her greatest passion remains the written word. Faith Phillips worked as a corporate attorney until she left active law practice to write her debut fiction novel, Ezekiel's Wheels. Her second book, It's Not That Hard To, is a collection of personal essays detailing an unconventional childhood in rural Oklahoma, the transition from attorney to novelist, single motherhood, atomic relationship bombs, and a sublime spiritual journey. Her 2019 true crime novel, Now I Lay Me Down, chronicles the 2008 murders of 3 young women in Okfuskee County and the Oklahoma prosecutor who pursued their killer. Faith Phillips currently teaches British literature, creative writing, and world literature to students in Adair County. Her fourth book is due for release in 2020. I give you Faith Phillips.
Hi, everybody. It's Faith Phillips here with Take Two, which actually goes really well with the title of my presentation, which is Take a Chance and Say Yes. Because the whole point of that is everything that's good that's come in my life has come from taking a chance and saying yes. And a lot of times that involves failure. And I had a major failure on Zoom yesterday. I was trying to record this for you to say hi and have just a short little discussion about my books. And I didn't apparently record anything. So I ended up just speaking into the ether for 15 minutes. And I don't know what happened to that recording. But I'm happy to be here for Take Two. I am so excited to be talking to Oklahoma librarians. Excuse me. Sorry about that. I'm okay. But I think the first time I spoke to you was 8 years ago when my first book came out. So I'm really happy that you would invite me back 8 years later after I've come out with 3 books. The fourth one is coming out in July. And I'm just really sorry that we couldn't meet in person like we did the first time, but I'm thinking next year we'll be able to do that. I really love librarians. As a group, you tend to have a pretty good sense of humor, which means you're intelligent. So, and one thing I've noticed about librarians is that you really know how to let your hair down. So I'm going to look forward to seeing you in person, but for this, right now, during this time, I hope you're staying safe, and I'm happy to meet with you this way. I suppose I should introduce myself. My name is Faith Phillips, and I'm an Oklahoma author. Was a former corporate attorney turned author, and now in the last year I started teaching English. So I've been through quite an interesting set of events, you could say, over my lifetime. I'm from Adair County, which is in far eastern Oklahoma, and it's a beautiful place if you've never been there. It's one of the most beautiful places, I think, in the world. I've traveled a bit, and I find it difficult to find a place that is that matches the natural beauty of eastern Oklahoma, the foothills of the Ozarks. So I'm really proud to be from Adair County. However, growing up there, I spent a lot of time in the library, and I knew from an early age that I needed to get out of there. Adair County is one of the poorest counties in Oklahoma, and there just aren't a whole lot of professional options there. And I was determined that I didn't know exactly what I was going to do, but I knew that I was going to get out and make a success of myself one way or the other. I had spent a lot of time in the libraries reading books, and it had, as you know, as librarians, all of these books had set my imagination on fire for all of the options that were out there in the world that didn't seem available in Adair County. So I just knew for sure I had to get out of there, and I didn't know exactly what I was going to do. but I just knew I was going to get an education and pursue some kind of professional career. So I ended up going to OU, and I went to OU Law School, got a law degree, and started practicing corporate law. Well, believe it or not, and you might find this hard to believe, but I found corporate law to be less than fulfilling as a person, as a human being. And I did my job, but all the time I was writing, just constantly writing on my free time, on the weekends, in the evenings. I wrote all the time. And it started to dawn on me that I possibly missed my calling because, growing up and reading books, I thought the authors were like rock stars. I I thought that I had a better chance of being an astronaut than writing books. But the Tulsa World published my first piece of writing, and it was actually a rock and roll review of a Bob Dylan concert. And it was just that one little taste of being published that just set me off, lit me on fire, and I was just ready to write. So my company that I was practicing corporate law for, they sold and a new ownership came in, and I really disliked the new ownership, and that was my excuse to just launch and begin my writing career. So I moved back home, which I swore I would never do. I declared as a young woman that I would never move back home to Adair County. But that's exactly what I did. And I mooched off of my family essentially for a year while I was finishing up my first novel, which is called Ezekiel's Wheels. It came out in 2013. That was my first book, and that was the first time I came to speak to your organization. And I just feel so blessed that you would ask me to come back again, because that felt like a real stamp of approval that the librarians wanted me to come talk to them about my new book. So since then, the first book was called Ezekiel's Wheels, and it was a fiction novel. So at that time, my intention was, again, I made a declaration, well, I'm a fiction writer, so I'm going to write fiction. And so I began work on my second novel. And then in the interim, wouldn't you know it, I failed again. My heart got broken. And rather than publishing my second fiction novel, I put together a series of essays. And they're mostly funny essays, but there are a couple in there that talk about getting my heart broken and all of my failures. But it really is a fun book. The second book is called It's Not That Hard To. And so that came out of taking a chance, because I thought, I made myself pretty vulnerable in that book, because I kind of laid out all of my weaknesses. But people really seem to enjoy that second book. It's pretty funny and outlandish. So, and I just happen to think that when you make yourself vulnerable for people, that you just become more relatable. The third book was called Now I Lay Me Down. And that book is about a crime that you may have heard about. It's two little girls were brutally murdered in Walika in 2008. And it just so happened that I went to law school with the woman who prosecuted their murderer. So I just met up with her. We hadn't seen each other in years since we graduated law school. And I met up with her at the Woody Guthrie Festival in Okemah, of all places. And she said, hey, I've got a book. I've got a story to tell you that's worthy of a book. And I thought, oh, sure. That's the line I get all the time. But she started telling me about this crime and what it took to solve the murders and to prosecute the crime. And I thought, you're right, that absolutely is a book. So once again, I didn't write my second fiction novel. I wrote Now I Lay Me Down, and that came out 2 years ago. And that was when I really felt like my book career was finally taking off after such a long time. I'm kind of a strange person in that I really expect to win. So when the first book came out, I just thought, oh, I'm going to go on this worldwide book tour and I'm going to suddenly become a known author. Well, life intervened, and of course, it takes a lot more work. You don't just write one book and shoot to the top. You have to really put in a lot of time and a lot of effort. And so by the time this third book came out, I thought, oh, yay, this is the one that's really going to take off. And in fact, it did make the Oklahoma bestsellers list. And we did a big book signing at Magic City. So that was all exciting. And a movie director contacted me, and he wanted to talk to me about pitching the book to Netflix and HBO. And I was just convinced at this point, okay, I've made it as an author finally. And then, wouldn't you know it, those talks just kind of died down and the book just kind of quietly went away. It really made quite a splash in the first few months. And then it just quietly went away. And I found myself a little upset that it didn't take the trajectory that I expected it to. Excuse me, I'm sorry. So I'm not one to wait. And I took a chance. I said, okay, well, I'm just going to go. I'm going to write a screenplay based on that third book. I'm not going to wait around for somebody to do it for me. So I was in the midst of writing the screenplay based on the third book, Now I Lay Me Down. And that was when I got a message from the principal at the school where I'd gone to high school and graduated in 1996 in Adair County. And he sent a message. He said, hey, we really need an English teacher. And my immediate response was absolutely not. And that's because I'm from a family of educators, and I know what it takes to be an educator. You really have to be a selfless person, particularly in Oklahoma. There's not a whole lot of legislative support I've found for educators. And I'm frankly just not that selfless. My family, I really admire them, what they've done with their lives, but that was not for me. I just had other ideas. And then my husband said, you know, you really need to reconsider this teaching opportunity. And he said, you know, you're going to have a chance to go speak to students who are just like you were coming up in Adair County. And you can share your passion with them. Who knows, you might inspire a young writer coming up out of Adair County, and it could really make a difference. And when I started thinking about it, I realized that he was right. And I had several other trusted advisors in my life, and when I talked to them about the English teaching job, it was unanimous. They all said, yes, absolutely, you have to go teach English. So I really dreaded it, was not looking forward to it whatsoever at all. But I took a chance. I said yes. And at first it really did seem like I was right, that it was going to be a disaster, because the students didn't know who I was. They didn't care that I was an author. They were seniors. They were on their way out. But eventually they started trusting me. And I've realized that they didn't have the tools they needed in the school. The schools are really, it's an underserved district for sure, and they don't have all of the tools that most larger, wealthier schools have. So I just decided to start a fundraiser, a private fundraiser with all of my friends, to put Chromebooks in the classroom so the students would have the same kind of tools that other students had access in, say, like a Jinx district, a larger district. So much to my surprise, in 5 days, we raised all the money we needed to put a set of Chromebooks in a classroom. And in this way, the students there were seniors on their way out, they could work on resumes, college applications, everything that you would need as a graduating senior that they didn't have. So I was amazed by how quickly they took off once they had the Chromebooks. And ultimately what came out of them having access to the Chromebooks, is they undertook this giant research project, and they made a podcast that was submitted to NPR. And believe it or not, I was just as shocked as anyone. The podcast they made ended up going straight to the top. They were a finalist for NPR. Out of over 2,000 podcasts, they were selected as one of the 15 finalists, and it was just incredible, just remarkable. And I just have to say that all of that came from taking a chance and saying yes. And I think there have been many, many times that I've failed in my life, but also all of the wonderful things, and I mean 100% true, all of the wonderful things happened because I took a step out of my comfort zone. I did something, I pushed myself to try something new that I really didn't want to. And so that's really my message to you today, is that I would encourage you to take a chance and say yes to something that perhaps you've been holding back on for fear of failure, because trust me, you can't fail. There's no way you could even begin to compete with how many times I've failed at the various undertakings that I've taken on in my life. So please, if you get a chance to try something new, I say go for it, and you may just be completely shocked at what you find and what you're capable of doing and the difference you can make in the world. And I think right now that's what we really need. With everything that's happening in our world, wherever we are, if we just do our small bit of good where we are, then together we can make a huge difference. And I would just like to conclude by saying, I talked to you about my first 3 books, and then the 4th one is coming out in July. It's called 2020 Visions, and it's available for pre-order on my author's website right now. The author's website is readbooksby.faith. I'll say that one more time just in case you're making a note. Readbooksby.faith. And what the 4th book is about is it's a compilation. When the pandemic hit, of course, we didn't get to go back and finish our year together at the school. But the seniors I was working with, they continued to journal through the pandemic. So 2020 Visions is a combination of my experience as a first-year English teacher and being really afraid and nervous about whether or not I could successfully do this job and teach these people and help them transition out from high school into the adult world. And it's a combination of that and their writing, which is just raw, emotional, honest, vulnerable, and very moving, frankly. I was just taken, their writing just took me away. And in a time when we're all struggling a little bit, it was really refreshing to read some writing of people who are just giving their everyday, true and honest account of what they lived through at the beginning, because we went into spring break and we just never got to come back. We never got to say goodbye. We never got to, the students didn't get to go to prom, of course, as you know. So this book, 2020 Visions, is my 4th book. It's a collaboration with my students, and it's ready for it's on pre-sale right now on my website. And all of the proceeds from that book go to place Chromebooks in the rest of the English classes at Stowa High School. So every book you order, you are getting yourself a book, but you're also putting a Chromebook in the hands of a student in Adair County. And I think they've already shown that once they get access to the tools they need, they just shoot right to the top. And so we would really appreciate your support if you're a book reader, and I bet you are. So I just want to thank you so much again. Librarians, I love you all. You certainly inspired me when I was a young person growing up, and I really believe that libraries and librarians will never be obsolete, because now more than ever, we need education and inspiration, and that's what you do for a living every single day. And I'm really proud of you, and I thank you so much for giving me an opportunity to talk to you one more time. My plan is I'll get to see you in person again soon. Take care, and thank you so much.
Thank you, Faith. I've enjoyed reading both Now I Lay Me Down and Ezekiel's Will. I look forward to your next book. I want to thank the FOLIO board, FOLIO members, the Oklahoma Library Association, and the Oklahoma Department of Libraries for making this a very successful year. We continued celebrating our 40th anniversary and sharing information about Friends. Please like FOLIO on Facebook and share your friend's story as we continue to build strong libraries and strong communities in Oklahoma together, and join our organization at okfriends.net. I hope that you'll send me newsletter articles about what your friends are doing so that we can all network and find out and learn together. Wayne, it is with pleasure that I turn over the gavel to you as our new president as we continue advocating for and strengthening libraries.
Thank you, Sharon. And I want to thank everybody who was with us for this program today. Now, as new president, I'd like to share this. You remember how Mark Antony said, according to Shakespeare, "Friends, Romans, countrymen, lend me your ears." Well, I'm going to put it this way. Friends of libraries in Oklahoma, lend me your efforts. We have a big job ahead of us, and we need everyone's help. This year's pandemic has wrought havoc in our state, killing people, leaving many seriously impaired, closing businesses, eliminating badly needed jobs, and doing a lot of harm to library budgets, library staffs, and library services. And the damage, sadly, is far from ended. Friends, we have a big job to do. Libraries need friends. They need us as advocates, speaking up for libraries when budget and other vital decisions are on the line. They need us as fundraisers, because the need for library services is as great as ever, and tax revenues are down. They need us to find and energize volunteers, because our libraries and staffs are stretched so thin. And they need us as a constant source of fresh inspiration and appreciation. And library friends groups need FOLIO. We give them a voice at state level. We serve them in numerous ways, whether it's tips, workshops, and conference programs to help friends groups run more smoothly, news of successful projects that other friends groups have done, help in starting or re-energizing a local friends group, helpful advice when problems arise, help in bringing special programs to libraries, or timely news and communications that tell us what the issues are and when we need to go into action as advocates. FOLIO has work to do and needs dedicated board members to do it. We've had outstanding leadership the past 2 years from Sharon Solman, and before her from Karen Newrohr. Now the gavel has passed to me, and I'll tell you, I've got to have your help. Working together, we can have a great year, but we have a lot to do, and we must have your help to do it. This year, we will have 2 special goals. First, we have to help Oklahoma Friends groups help their libraries find and implement new ways of connecting their services to their communities during and after this pandemic. Second, we have to give more dedicated friends the opportunity to become and continue serving as FOLIO board members. And for that, just one thing is needed. You have to ask them. To get our year started, the biennial retreat of the FOLIO board is now scheduled for Friday and Saturday, August 28th and 29th at the newly remodeled St. Crispin's Camp and Conference Center, a few miles east of Seminole. So now, again, a thank you to each of you for joining us for this author visit and awards program. If you enjoyed this session, I would also encourage you to consider joining the Friends of Libraries in Oklahoma, where we strengthen libraries through Friends of Libraries, and you can make an important difference. Please remember to complete a session evaluation in the OLA Conference app, and we hope you will join us for many more conference sessions. Thank you.